All right, so let's talk for a bit about shooting stars, or at least I will attempt to. Reason why I'm saying this is because I figured, you being, more of the basketball junkie compared to me, would have checked this show out, but you didn't, which is kind of weird, right? But anyway, what it's about in a nutshell? Well, I should say how I stumbled onto this show in the first place is, well, admittedly, I was just looking for stuff to watch, last weekend, or should say this weekend actually, the time of us recording this. And I just saw this little trailer for a film that was coming out on Peacock, right? Well, that would be June the 2nd, right? Called Shooting Stars. The subject matter, intrigued me because it is, on paper, it is about LeBron James, right? But it's also about his three other friends. That would be, Drew Joyce the third. Um,
Who most likely Uncle Drew's based on.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. We have, let me get the name. All right, we have Willie McGee,
Right.
and we have Cian or Cheyenne. It's Cian, right? Cotton.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Right. So it centers on these four individuals, right? Um, and surprisingly, right, it's not actually the LeBron James show, right, as I
Right.
thought it was going to be going in, right? And I know a lot of people will think so, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, this is actually like, the third feature film to be about, in a sense, LeBron James, right? The first one being Space Jam 2,
Right.
and the second one being House Party, which came out earlier this year, right? But yeah, this is just basically like the early beginnings of LeBron, right? Like
Yeah.
how he became the legend that he is today, and well, his three friends, right? And you see, like just from a young age, they're just always together. Just basically, well, I think it's the right. So it's Drew's father, right? Is a coach. He is played by, well, Wood Harris of all people. It's like, oh
Right.
shit, you in
Yeah.
this
Yeah. Yeah.
too?
Yeah.
What?
He's a dude.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
He listen. He's a coach in Rocky. He's a coach in Coach in Creed. He's your dude.
I
Well,
mean, it makes sense. It,
he's
it,
our
it makes
uncle.
sense, right? Yeah,
Wood
he
Harris.
is, right?
Wood Harris is everybody uncle now.
you know yeah. Right, so as I said, from a young age, they've just been best friends. They're always playing ball. If they're not playing basketball, sorry, they're always playing video games based on that. So like this is scene where they just basically playing this Konami video game. I guess if you see Ricardo, you will know which one it is. But I saw, it's like, okay, that's from some console from like way back when in the 90s, right? And then, well, you basically see them in the teens as they go into, well, basically the whole show centers on college basketball, right? So,
Right.
because of
Which is
Joyce,
interesting because,
yeah,
like, LeBron didn't go to college. Like, he
right,
went straight to
exactly,
game.
which the show also
Yeah.
addressed, right? So,
Yeah.
Drew now, because of his height, right? Because he was relatively shorter than his friends, right?
Yeah.
He is offered the opportunity to go to, I think it's junior varsity, right? And he doesn't want that. He wants to be with the brethren, right? And they all want to be with each other, right? So they actually go over to this particular college. I forget the name of it right now. Some Irish something, right? Um, and they get to play for their team, right? But basically, this is the only way that they could play together because it was either three and it was either everybody else and Drew had to stay back, or the four of them together. But it's in a, I should say, predominantly white school, right? And thankfully, the show doesn't really like talk about the race stuff or whatnot. It kind of glosses over it. It's just like,
Right.
well, they're b-ballers, right? They do their thing, right? And they're not like they're the only black people in the school anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? But yeah, essentially, the show is just about their rise, just about them, just more or less holding on to their friendship. Yeah, while they rise among the ranks when it comes to college basketball, right? And you'll see. Well, I guess if you're a basketball nerd, you'll know where their stories eventually go to, right? And I'll stop here.
Yeah.
So for me, right, I was actually, while I was watching this, I was hoping that you would have seen it, right? But you told me you didn't. Okay, felt it just didn't interest you, right? So for me, right, I didn't know till after the fact that it was based off of LeBron's memoir of the same name, right? I didn't even know that, right?
Right. Right.
I should be surprised actually that it was novelized at some point in time, right? Because we're talking about his come up in the late 90s to early 2000s. Of course, somebody had to chronicle that, right? But anyway,
Right.
um, but I for me, just not knowing anything about LeBron's come up, not knowing who Drew Joyce the third was, who Willie McGee was, who Sean Cotton was, I actually found myself really enjoying this though. It held my interest throughout its near 2 hour
Right,
runtime. I thought that directing wise, it was very well handled. It's actually done by Chris Robertson of all people, right? You know, the legendary
right.
music video director, right? And yeah, I thought that he
Yeah,
did a great job with this man. And it's so funny while I was watching this too, I was also thinking about like, wow, like just a few weeks ago we were talking about white men can't jump and how bad that was, right? And here we have something which
right,
really like does the sport of basketball justice, right? Because yeah, you know what I mean. Like like Chris, just injects so much energy into these basketball sequences, right? Whether it's just a needle drop. And by the way, the needle drops in this are fantastic though. If you're a fan of like late, or I should say mid 90s to early 2000s hip hop, then yeah, you will be enjoying these needle drops. So I don't want to spoil any of them, right?
right,
Actually, I will spoil one, right? It involves shooting. That's all I will say. And there's a part where like it's just basically him and some other guys just playing street ball, right? And literally like a short distance away, you hear gunshots. And I think one of them say, well, basically you studying gunshots across there. Like they're shooting across there, but we shooting over here, right? But just the use of the song. I don't want to spoil what it is, right? But just know it has the word shooting in it. That's all I'll say. But yeah, how they work it into that sequence, I thought was great, right? So yeah, props for the whoever came up with the ideas for these needle drops, right? The cast, I thought that they were solid through and through, man. Mookie Cook, he
right.
he plays LeBron James, right? I think that this is probably his debut feature film appearance. Like I'm not gonna be the guy to come and say, well, he looks nothing like LeBron, and he doesn't even, sound like him. I felt like voice-wise, he nailed it. I don't even know much about LeBron, but I felt
Right.
like just the tone that LeBron has, like his voice, he nailed that. He nailed that well, and I felt like he looked the part. He looked like a tall, lanky kid who, skilled at basketball, right? That's what they're going for. Tall, lanky kids, right? That's what it is.
Yeah. No, yeah. LeBron beef up later.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
he's kind
Well,
of
yeah,
skinny in the
look at
early
that,
days.
right? So, yeah, I'm not going to be,
Yeah.
this purist to say, well, he doesn't look like him. No, that's not me, right? You get my boy Caleb McLaughlin from Stranger Things to play Drew Joyce. I was like, hey! And like, at
Right.
first I was like,
Right.
him, boy, I don't know, but nah, I thought that he was great though, right? And I like how, it's always about him proving himself because, oh, people laughing at him because he's short and all that kind of stuff, right? There's actually a great moment where he just kind of goes against his coach's play, right? And he just doing his own thing. He just doing a set of
Right.
dunks and whatnot, right? To the point that I like that there's these little stylistic moments, right? These little blink and you miss it moments where like on the scoreboard, right? So his team is the guest, right? And like the guest like text is changed on the scoreboard to Lil Drew. Like just little things like that, though. It'll be like, all right, I like this. This is nice, right? Um, Khalil Everidge, who plays Cian, and Avery Wills, who plays Willie McGee. I thought that they were great as well, right? And what I really just love about this show here is how you just got that camaraderie between all four of them. It's not just, you know, we just here for the sake of it, right? You could tell that they have this deep-rooted brotherhood about them.
Yeah. So yeah, when I saw the trailer for this, I was thinking basketball. Speaking of Wood Harris, I was thinking above the rim. I'm
All
like,
right,
okay.
nice, good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was thinking something like well, Wood Harris wasn't in this, right? There's the Wood.
No, no,
I was
he
thinking
wasn't
he
in the
was
wood. I forgot who
was it
was. No, I
was
think T Diggs was in the
that's
wood.
T Diggs, I
Right.
think. Yeah, yeah. But I was thinking something more like that, right? It's memories stuff, but from a black perspective in the 2000s, and that's super rare to see that for a young black perspective in the
Mm-hmm.
2000s, right? Or the late 90s, you should say, to the 2000s. And like, all right, I'll give it a. If I found time, I'd probably give it a chance, to be honest, right? But
Yeah,
right,
yeah. I will say it is that. It is like I remember it's from a memoir,
right,
right? So if you look at it just structurally, how the story is told, yes, it's just these moments, right? The moment when they played this particular match, or this guy lost, or this moment where LeBron ate pepperoni pizza and got sick, and
right,
he had to impress these coaches or whatever it is, these agents, and he couldn't even do it because he wasn't 100%. Like it's these moments, you know what I mean? But I was just looking up like some reviews of it. Unfortunately, there isn't really that much. But some people kind of seeing that well, it doesn't really scratch the surface and it doesn't really tell you anything that you don't know and all that kind of stuff, right? So again, I'm not a basketball nerd, so I don't know everything or every particular detail. But I will admit that while I was watching this, I was telling myself, all right, if somebody just knew LeBron's backstory or knew Drew or Cian or Willie's backstories, yeah, they'll probably know every single beat that happens, right? Or even like if you like know how the outcomes of each game that you see in the show here plays out, then wow, like you really know your shit, right? But yeah, I think that for newbies like me, it tells a story pretty straightforward, right? What I will say, just as a nitpick, it's pretty standard fare. It's nothing too spectacular. It doesn't do anything too extraordinary, right? But they do one thing that really like warm a heart, right? I would say warm a heart, right? So slight spoiler. At the end of the film, right before we get to credits, right? They actually show, they normally show the players and the people in real life, right? So like whether it's the like LeBron and them themselves, or I forgot to mention we have the coach Keith Dambra too, is played by Dermot Mulroney. Like I was watching, it feels like I know this dude, I know this dude. And when I saw his name, it's like, right, that's you, right? Yeah. When it comes to like the players themselves, right? With the exception of LeBron, of course, because the man busy, right? I guess. They actually make appearances in the show themselves. Like they actually play like little bit characters in the show. I didn't even realize that, and I thought that was like so sweet though, for the director to say, you know what, we don't want to just pay homage to you guys. We want you to be in the film
Yeah.
as well.
So
It's like that.
yeah, that is again a little too self-congratulatory. However, it's
Okay,
fine.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
And on the subject of that, I mean, of course, LeBron wasn't in it, right? Because he's LeBron, right? This is just me, right? Please don't crucify me for saying this, but and I should mention too before I get to my point. They actually do, because I thought that they were going to do the whole typical, okay, LeBron moved on to do this, Drew moved on to do that. No, all they just do is just the real person and the actor playing them and the signature underneath. I thought that was like real cool though. But yeah, LeBron's signature is terrible. It's terrible. It's like three circles basically with a little scribble on top. I watch it like, wait, that's your signature, bro? What the hell is that?
All right.
It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know, but I just noticed like, dude, what kind of shit is that, right? But anyway, um, but yeah, I mentioned the acting, I mentioned direction, I mentioned the Neil drops as well too. Yeah, but yeah, in terms of just how it's put together, I thought that it was very well done though. What I would just say, just to wrap things up though, it was also released by Universal as well, right? And in my mind, I was telling myself while I was watching this probably was intended to be released in theaters, and maybe Universal was kind of considering doing it around NBA season. But I was telling myself, well, I mean, shows like Fast X and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse are out right now, so something like this would have been just crushed, like it would crushed by the box office. It would have been
Yeah,
largely ignored.
because I think 824. Yeah, because 824 had a couple films that we are gonna watch next week. But yeah, I gonna take that in this weekend.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
same thing, man.
So,
Same
so
road.
so in retrospect, it kind of makes sense for it to be released on Peacock, right? I should also mention too, just a little moment where I was like, all right, that's a little Peacock moment here, right? Where one of the characters reference Ric Flair, right? Where he says, it's not about
Right.
being the man, you have to beat the man and do woo, right? It's like, I remember because Peacock,
Yeah.
running WWE content. Ha 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 ha
Yeah. Yeah.
ha.
Yeah.
I get. Okay, right? So that was interesting. But yeah, I thought for what it was, but then again, this is just me not knowing much about these characters. Yeah, this was a solid film though. I don't love it as all that, but as a biopic and as a sports drama, it works, man. And for me, I think the reason why I enjoy it so much is because again, it's not the LeBron James story. It could have easily been the LeBron James story,
Right.
but it's not that. It's about him and the three musketeers, if you will, right? And well, I guess I should ask you this quickly, Ricardo, before I get to written, right? Are you familiar with these individuals, Drew and Cian and Willie at all? Like, you ever heard them mentioned?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's kind of like, oh yeah, right. LeBron had some old friends. Like as I said, I only know about it because of the Uncle Drew thing. And I remember seeing a interview with Drew. Like, oh, is that the same Uncle Drew? Is that the same reference or something like that? Because Drew something is like what he's like in the 60s or late 60s now, whatever.
Yeah, most
So I
likely,
thought
yeah.
I thought that's who Uncle Drew was based on. Like that's it. I mean, I just kind of know LeBron friends and family growing up.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
again,
Well,
again, I know LeBron fan or anything like
all
that.
right.
Like I acknowledge his greatness, however it is, but like I'm not a fan. It's like I just know he just as a kind of side factor, whatever.
Okay, why I
Yeah,
ask is that I'm just wondering if all this, or at least what the premise is general knowledge to basketball fans, or is it just that
kinda,
you
yeah,
kind of had to
pretty much.
dig in deep into, or I should say, for lack of a better term, read the memoir to know all this stuff, right?
That's the thing. That's what I say. That's why I had no hype going into this because nobody was talking about it or hyping it up to say, "Wait, boy, look, there's some big, deep drop, set of dirt or some tea spill in
Oh,
it." Like, it's fine.
no.
Exactly.
It's not
Yeah.
that. It doesn't tarnish LeBron at
Exactly.
all.
No,
You
no,
know.
nothing like that. It's like okay, like take for example the Jordan Duck. The Last Dance had a big hype thing
Hmm.
over it because like yeah, it had plenty interesting behind the scenes stuff, but we don't really care about Jordan early life, so it's like whatever, moving on.
Okay, I understand. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, I guess at the end of the day, folks, it's all a matter of how much you want to know about LeBron and his early days and his come up, right? But I thought that it was really intriguing, kind of sort of fascinating as well too, and really endearing too. Just knowing that hey, it's my brethren. We grew up together on basketball, and we and in the film, they go through shit, they go through the drama and whatnot. Although I will admit the show doesn't go too deep into like the tension. Like they hint at it in the show bits of it, but I felt like I go a little deeper into it as well too, right? But oh, I should have mentioned too. Last thing, last. We also have I almost say character, right? We have Romeo Travis. He actually shows up in the film as well too. He actually becomes
Right,
friends.
right.
Well, reluctantly become friends with LeBron and his team, right? So yeah, I mean, I would say like if you just want to know more about LeBron's life, I would say check it out. If you're like me and you just really like not keen on checking out the memoir, sorry. Yeah, give this a watch, man. So for me, rating wise, I'm gonna give this lighter, decent 3.5 out of 5, man. It's worth checking out. Um,
Okay,
but
nice.
yeah,
Good to hear.
but again, for me personally, I just felt like this should have been released in theaters. Like more people should be aware of this, right? I was just googling, just
Okay,
looking up to see what was coming out this weekend, and I saw this. If I didn't do that search, I probably wouldn't
nice.
even know the show existed, right? Which is a shame.
Yeah,
I guess in terms of Peacock, they really should have promoted this film a lot more, man. But I think the reason why they didn't
right,
do it too is because people, they fear that people will go into this expecting a LeBron James only story, and that's not it. That's not what you get
right,
in this. And I actually admire and appreciate the show for just saying, no, it's not about him. It's about the other people as well, right?
right.
So yeah, at the end of the day, it's all a matter of what you expect from this, right? If you wanna find out things that you didn't know about him, yeah, watch it. If you can care or you know everything you need to know about LeBron, this won't do anything for you. I would say that if you're just a
Right.
basketball fan and or you just enjoy really well-made sports dramas or biopics, yeah, give this one a look, man. It wouldn't. Right, so stick with biopics for a bit now. Now we have to talk about BlackBerry, which is a show that I didn't even know about till actually I saw an article on it basically on RogerEbert.com, right? It was this where it was shown during South by Southwest, right? And it got a lot of hype and a lot of praise there, right? So I was like, all right, I need to see this, right? But I wanted to go in as blind as I could, so I didn't even know who directed it. It's really interesting who directed it as well too, right? But I'll get to that in my review. I didn't even know who was starring in it, so I was shocked when I saw, hey, it's Jay, Baruchel, right? Last time I saw it was with those How to Train Your Dragon films. Is that guy, right? Glenn Howerton. Even though I wasn't the biggest fan of, or so I should say, I haven't really seen much of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Right, right,
I
right,
remember
right.
that face. I remember him from that show, right? And yeah, I wanted to go in as blind as I could. I mean, what I'll just say, just in the preamble here, is well, BlackBerry, right? I remember how big of a deal that shit was in the 2000s. It
Yeah.
was always like the phone, or I should say, the device that it's like, oh well, look at me and how
All
established I am. Look at me with my
yeah.
BlackBerry. Look
All
at you
the
with your
all the
shitty
worst
smartphone and your
all the worst people
Motorola's.
yeah, all the worst people I know had a BlackBerry.
Oh, in real life, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I just, I just always assume it was stush people who have
Oh yeah, that's what it
Blackberries.
was. It is designed for. Yeah, effectively. I mean, it was effectively for like a business class, no, because it didn't do anything. Like it was good for communication, and it felt very exclusive, no, as
Yeah,
a piece
yeah.
of tech. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember like it wasn't really a big deal back then, but I think this was like at the height of how much I should care about BlackBerry. I'll never forget,
right,
like I think it was when Drake said that he just write all the bars in a BlackBerry and then go in the studio and
right,
and just read it off though. Like when I heard that, I was like, okay, really, like really, okay,
right.
wow,
And then
wow, look at
this
that,
this
right,
this a little
revolutionary.
this a bit reductive and kind of over simplistic, but yeah, the iPhone destroyed the BlackBerry, right? Like it for
Yes,
whatever reason, the BlackBerry just never adapted to the smartphone era, and it have all kind of like actually you could find like narrative explanations as to why BlackBerry failed. But the rise of BlackBerry is also equally fascinating. Like what
yes,
that very interesting niche, that time period where the smartphone didn't exist yet, but it's not a phone really, and it's just this weird in between that filler niche that was an interesting kind of point.
yeah.
That is what, and when the BlackBerry kind of blew up, like between what 2005 and 2008. No,
Oh
before
no,
that.
no, it was
Sorry,
before. Like well, how the show says it's basically from 2001, 2002 to about
2001. Sorry,
yeah
right,
to
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah,
2005.
right, right, right. So a big factor was 9/11, like just the
Yes.
whole, right. I'll say 2002 or 2003. That's when it like the right around the Iraq War. So around that time when things was like it's a weird period, and for me I had a sliver,
Oh.
right, and I was like, should I get a BlackBerry? And I was thinking, why would I want to get a BlackBerry? I didn't really need it because, but then in retrospect I was like, I probably should have gotten one. It would have been kind of cool, and then it had its own network and thing, and again it covered its own niche. Again, Apple, come on new call at that, but you get the point, right? It's anyway like getting to the moon. So it's effectively the social network, but for BlackBerry. It's the origin story, how it came to be, all the decisions it made that led up to its existence, and the business in and outs of that, and all the drama. The creators of BlackBerry. That is effectively what we get, and it's pretty good. I thought it was good, not great. I wanted more from it, but it wasn't like you know it's fine. It's pretty good actually. You said it was better than Tetris. I don't agree, but this is just the rise and fall of the BlackBerry empire. All the decisions made, the ins and outs, the moves and shakings of the history of it. It's pretty good for what it is, and they use some interesting conceits of how to tell the business narrative, because we get into these movies of the business narrative movies, right? We had Air, we had the Tetris movie and whatnot, right? And these things interesting. It's just these haphazard nature, and the history of the phone itself, and we get a interesting back and forth about a brilliant idea and the research that goes into this and all the science stuff that goes into this, and what's this guy's name, Lazaridis, um, you know the stuff that it could have easily been jumped on in the history of where this is, but then the CEO decided to make this decision instead, and they decided to join forces with Bell, the Bell company. Well, it was back then it was Bell Atlantic, and well, it's now
Hmm.
Verizon. And yeah, it's just all these the usual like hodgepodge music tickets stuff that kind of makes for interesting drama. Again, I kind of tired of this because I just watch out Succession. But it works for what it is, and I can't be mad. It mostly focuses on what's the name of it?
Yeah,
Basil,
yeah, Basil.
yeah, Basil and Lazarus, and
Basil, yeah.
yeah, Basil, right? And yeah, they just tell the story again. It's very social network all over again in that way, but it's good. I thought it was pretty good for what it was, and I'm not sure if it got a cinema release, but it's the history of a technology, and somebody just exploiting on it and running it and making it work. Yeah, don't super love this. Don't prefer this to Air, but I suppose it's just because of the bias I have towards Air, I suppose. But nice about it. Yeah.
All right. Well, here's the thing, right? I still have yet to see Air. Don't worry, I will see it. I will
Okay.
see it
Right.
before
Right. Right.
years end,
Right.
and I know that I'll really enjoy this, right?
Yeah, but you
That
also said you like
seems.
this more than Tetris, and I still don't find that as interesting as Tetris either.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
well, well. Since you kind of sum out, yes, I actually prefer this more than Tetris.
Right.
I mean, yes. While Tetris was really fascinating and whatnot, and it was just this diving into how just all the crazy shenanigans behind the making of such a beloved game. What I loved about this film, and yes, I kind of sort of love this film here, is just the dark business chicanery that these nerds are using this term, in a nice way, get themselves into, right? Because it
Yeah,
just literally started as first as Mike and Carl, right? Just basically, well, play by J Baruchel and what is Kerry Ewells, right?
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, right. As also, I always butcher his surname. I'm sorry, guys, right? But I always do, right? Yeah, and it's just the eagerness that they had at first when they're pitching what was technically the early beginnings of BlackBerry, right? And the second they hook up with Jim, right, Balsey, right, who is played by Glenn Howerton, right, and he have his own motivations in mind, right, and basically where it is that he just see he just want to be the CEO of something, right?
Right,
So he just see these guys doing this stuff and say, all right, I want to be CEO. I want to push this product. I want to actually make this into a product. I want to sell the shit out of this and make a shit ton of money. That's really his MO in all of this, right? And it's just how far this goes where that really drew me in, Dread. Because yeah, I mean, it could have just been, oh, look at how amazing the BlackBerry is, and ooh, look at how cool it is, and
right,
how revolutionary it was, right? But for me, what wrote me in from start to end though was just the backstabbing involved though, just how
right.
dark everything was, right? I was saying dark in like a really ironic kind of way, right? It's not like gloomy or anything like that, right? But just how you have these two individuals who, just and I love how they set it up early on, right? Where it's like they have no business savvy at all. They just know all the technical stuff. They know what
Well,
it is they want out of it,
what
but it's just
what is
how do they
noticeable?
sell it? Do they
Yeah,
promote it? They can't.
what is noticeable about like all of these like tech sector Silicon Valley narrative shows, right? Is that all of they come up with new technology, but they more or less reinvent the wheel when it comes to business acumen. So all the old drama of like the early 20th century, late 19th century of that backbiting end up coming back full circle. Quite end up selecting that psychology back all over again. Something that would have sorted itself out in the 20th century
Mm,
didn't, because all the actual movers and shakers when it comes to making stuff happen on a technical level, they don't understand the human level. So they end up just
yeah.
reinventing the wheel and it has started over all over again. And yeah, so that's like interesting and fascinating to play out. You see that especially with Facebook,
Mm,
and the rise of social media and the power that is involved there. Especially with somebody like Elon Musk and these kind of people, it's like, oh, it's the same assholes all over again, except it's tech shit that we had to worry about this time. It's not oil or cotton or some bullshit like that. That was the thing, or some spices or whatever it was. Now it's just a new thing, and it does again. The pattern has repeated itself more times than you can fathom. Yeah, is that it
yeah,
does
yeah.
weird and interesting to me. Just to watch
Mm.
these things, the same human elements play itself out again. I think my brain on Succession, because I just watched out Succession. It's like, oh, it's the same patterns. You can't get away from that. Whatever.
Right. Okay. Well, I still haven't seen Success, right?
Right.
Believe that, right? So yeah, it's just how you just see these. I don't want to call. Yeah, let me just call them nudes right for now. This, all right. Just
Yeah.
these bright-eyed guys who
Yeah.
just
It's
want to change the world
naive.
better, right?
Yeah.
And then this snake just comes in out of the blue and says, "You know what? I want all it to just like all they're making something, right? I want all it to actually take that dream of all this, make it a reality. But I gonna pimp all it. I'm gonna make money off all the asses, Jen. And
Yeah.
I don't know, like it's real dark and insidious way,
It's
but
straight up.
just roll
He's
with
straight
it.
up. Yeah, he's straight up season one Joe McMillan from *Halt and Catch Fire*, right?
Yes, boy, for real.
Yeah,
Yes. Good
yeah,
point, right?
yeah,
So with what? All right. So with all that being said, I think that Glenn Howerton is the scene stealer in this whole show. He makes
yeah,
this show work. He's fantastic. He is just like he is the antagonist, right? Right. But at the same time, you get where he is coming from. He's a bullshit artist though, but he is
yeah,
like next level Dre. But the man knows his shit in and out, and I love how he just plays that character. Yes, he does the whole typical. All right, like literally every minute or so, I'm just gonna drop an f bomb because I'm just so hyped up and I'm just so girl, you're not doing your work and all that kind of stuff. But it fits with the character very well, right? Also love how with Mike and Carl now, right? how they just like like ever so often they will play Doom, like they're just killing time now. They're playing Doom. They'll have movie nights. They'll run like old school film from the 80s and whatnot. By the way, Carl's T-shirt game though. Like this man literally rocking like movie
Right.
posters on shirts, like literally every time you see him. Just the mere fact that he rocking this bandana, like he's still out to the 80s, is still funny to
Right.
me though. That was hilarious, right? But you really see the character change in terms of Mike, because at first he real like indecisive. He just like, I don't know if we should hook up with Jim and all that kind of stuff. They set up something early on where he has this distrust with Chinese made products. And
Right.
at first I was asking myself, wait, now this is some kind of xenophobia shit they kind of they're gonna bring up. Is actually no, at least I don't think it is. But it's essentially he just finds that their products to be cheaply made and inferior to American stuff.
Yeah, at the time that was correct. I mean, at the
Okay.
time, I mean, China pick up now, but at the time, yeah, they used to cut their corners. I mean,
Yeah, and
yeah,
and it's just and there's this like running theme of him just hearing this white noise every time he's near a modem, and it
right,
gets even worse now. When the BlackBerry phones become a reality, right? But yeah, I mean, he is just trying to hold things together because he just thinking about how this product is gonna change the world, right? Of course, Jim don't really see it that way. It's just all about how much money the company is gonna make, right? But then later on, you realize it's not really about the company; it's really about him, Joe, and this how he just basically make this backdoor deal, Jed, for something totally different. I love how they set that up from early on to it. And then when you see like him trying to play it out, it's like, jeez, but you real desperate, Jed. And that's where it ends. Even though I wasn't completely wowed by the ending itself, I was just say like the closing sequence. Um, I just love how it just centers on this particular character's kind of like a perfectionism kind of aspect about it. About
right.
it. That's what I really love about that particular moment. It's really dark and really sadistic, but it totally works, right? I should mention too, just a few things for you. The director Matt Johnson, right? So I'm not familiar with his work at all, but he is a Canadian actor and filmmaker, right? But his style is that sort of pseudo mockumentary kind of style that he applies in
Right.
this show. At
Yeah.
first, I was like, I'm not really feeling the style, it's not really working, because he's kind of doing, all right, like if you're familiar with sitcoms like, say, like The Office and, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, it's that same kind of style where,
Yeah.
it's that handheld kind of thing. They
Shaky
will
cam.
zoom in
Yeah.
on the
Yeah. Yeah.
character, that kind of shaky cam and stuff,
Again,
right?
Succession.
Okay, so
Was
Succession does that too. Okay,
just
I
do that
I
too.
didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that, right? But even though, but speaking of The Office, if you remember the intro, that style, that I forget what you call it. It's that sort of VHS kind of style, the visual, that's how it looks, that aesthetic. Yeah, you see that in some cut scenes in the film as well too. But all I would just say in general, at first I was a little iffy about it, but I think that it works like in the first part where you see the rise, or I should say the early beginnings of BlackBerry. But if you notice in the 2000s when they actually become established, that's when it starts to look a little bit more formal. It looks a little bit more normal, like what you would just see in
Right.
a typical feature film, right? But I like the kind of the contrast now. You know what I mean? From the early on, where it's like we don't know what we about, we don't know, we just kind of trying a thing, and now it's like, all right, we fully established, but we still don't really know where we're going. And I like how aesthetically the visuals kind of complement that theme, right?
Yeah.
Um, Acting great, 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 great across the board, boy. Jay is great as Mike. I like how sheepish he is, just like, I don't know, I don't know, right? And there's a few moments when the man flips out and it makes total sense, because yeah, like, just the bigger the company grows, boy, the more pressure they feel, and you really see it in Micah. Carl, however, trying to just be all cool about it, boy, but you
Right.
see how that plays out though, and it's very social network key, but it works, right? Jim though in particular though is great, because you're just thinking, all right, he just seeing potential. You're just thinking, all right, this man have their best interest at heart though, but it's like, actually, yes and no, right? And I love how Glenn again play that as well, right? And yeah, at the end of the day, it's just such a fascinating story, and just how it was told, it's just how it was put together, though, that really, really wowed me. I didn't know it was that deep. I didn't know shit was that grimy. And that I think at the end of the day, just before I get to rate it, that's why I ended up enjoying this film so much though. I didn't think that shit was that grimy though. Like you're thinking, all right, is
Yeah,
this something that's gonna change your world? Like is it because it's a smartphone? Like what going on here? But you didn't know that it was like no, like if you don't do this trend, like it's people being hired out of other companies to work there. It's all about this whole perfectionism stuff. It's all about the race to have the best product. And I'll just close with this though, like just the moment where the iPhone was dropped, like literally dropped into the story, and and so the famous video with Steve Jobs, promoting the iPhone
right.
and what it's about though.
Yeah,
Just the reaction shots from Mike and Jim though are
right.
priceless. I love, love, love that. It's just like shit.
Yeah.
And just this desperation to try to catch up with them though. But I feel it for Mike though. Like
Well,
Mike
I mean,
was really
I
trying
find,
there, but I
I
was like,
find, I find
bro,
if they
stop,
took,
stop.
yeah, to me they had more than enough opportunity to. We could get into the extra stuff that in the movie. Because largely familiar with this narrative, but mostly the fall of BlackBerry. Um, and to me, they could have easily they had more enough opportunity to say work with Samsung, for example, or work with Sony and get phones out, and it would have been a BlackBerry phone effectively. But they didn't do
Right.
it. They had a chance, and by the time they did a BlackBerry smartphone, it was way too late.
Mm.
Way too late. Way, way too
Yeah,
late.
yeah,
Market
and you
share done the market done leave them behind.
yeah, and you really see just you can really tell that they feel outdated though. Just the moment they see that video dread and just onwards into the film, right? So yeah, at the end of the day, I kind of love this film though. I did not expect that this story was so it just roped me in just from the
Right.
jump, man, and just how they perform the performances, the needle drops, just the way how it was shot and filmed and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it just worked for me, man. And I am not going to go into any debate as to whether it's better than Air or better than Tetris, right? I would just say it is one of just these fascinating and just generally great films that are centered on products, right? We're supposed to get one on Cheetos, and I like
Why?
why,
Why?
why,
Well, but you could stop.
right? But
No,
this
I'm
is
I'm
certainly
getting
one of the
annoyed by
best.
this. I'm getting really annoyed by this whole corporate history stuff. Like, okay, some of this stuff interesting, some make sense to do, and then you could have a general kind of weird cross branding thing like you do with Lego or Barbie or something like that. But
Hmm,
BlackBerry makes sense. Like, it's one of those products that make perfect sense to do as a product. Like, okay, I can see. And
yeah.
once, I mean, to me, it's your writing. Once you write it smart, it's not a big problem. So go ahead.
Yeah, and I thought that the writing for this was smart and it was sharp just from start to end, though. And I would say just very witty though, like there's some very sharp witty dialogue as well too. Very crass, yes, but it fits within this world of Blackberry, right? So again, I'm not gonna debate whether it's better than Air or better than Tetris, right? If you enjoy both, you enjoy both. For me, I just prefer this one over Tetris because I mean, just simply put, Tetris is in the 80s, and it was just about that sort of 80s worship and all that kind of stuff, and all that, just sort of telling this Cold War esque kind of story, but with an 80s lens, basically. While
Right,
this was just all right, it's Silicon Valley kind of shit, and it's just basically just these white collar guys who just want to make something cool, but they just get roped into the corporate nature of things, and they just don't know what to do, boy. There's something about that that just hit me in a way I didn't expect, man. So yeah, I
right.
enjoy this, man. But I will for sure check out Air, and I have a feeling I'll enjoy Air more than this one. But again, this is just one of three really really solid films about products, right? But I will say, but if I were to rank this, I would kind of have this above Tetris. That's just my personal take, right? But that's not to say that um it's better, it's greater than Tetris, just my opinion, right? So yeah, for me, rating wise, strong 4 to 5, man. I really really enjoy this shit, man. I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did. But I will say that's in closing, don't let the visual style of it throw you off, right? Like, no, it's not in the traditional sense of the of it's not done in that way. But I think that just this style fits with the story that is being told here. I think that it works, and it's just bolstered even more by the acting and the writing as well too, which are just strong from top to bottom, man. So yeah, I absolutely enjoy this film. Don't sleep on this one. This
Yeah,
is definitely going to be on my best of for sure, man. This and Air when I do see it. Um, and yeah, I wholeheartedly recommend checking it out, man. Give it a look. Give it a look.
Yeah.
Ricardo, I think you were supposed to mention this YouTuber who showed up in the film.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah,
ProZD. That's why I saw it. That's the main reason why I was aware of it. I
right.
wasn't into it because of BlackBerry. I was like, oh yeah, ProZD in a movie. What movie in? Oh shit, he in BlackBerry, great. And I went to see it because of him. He makes a couple of little moments and okay, look him there, great.
Yeah, and I have a
Yeah, that's it.
question. Like the dry humor that he does in this film, right? I should mention too, it's dry humor, but it's
Right.
great dry humor. That's his general style, right?
Kinda. He
Okay.
just do like a sketch kind of thing. Just watch a couple of sketches, short, fast stuff. You'll enjoy it because he's mostly a voice actor. That's why I know him for now. But to see a actual on-screen role, I think somebody, just Corey Coleman had an interview with him the other day. You could probably look that up too. So is that whatever. But yeah, rating.
Oh, I saw that. Yes.
Yeah,
It's him. Right.
yeah.
But in my head, I was thinking that he was some video game developer or something because
No,
I think they mentioned him alongside a game. I can't remember. Or no, he did the voice for a character in a
yeah, he's
game.
a big voice
Right.
actor. Yeah, he's a known
Right.
voice actor. He's doing a bunch of a bunch of stuff. But yeah, rating. Yeah, I like this. I can't in good conscience say I enjoy this as much as Tetris or Air. But it's still solid. I think let's admit it. I'll admit it because of the product. You're biased towards Tetris, no Tetris, and then well, Airs because it's Jordan. But this is like, all right, it's an interesting conceit in its own right. I kind of compare this to Social Network, which was quite good. But I didn't love it because it's like, yeah, I'm not really into Facebook, but I get
Yeah.
the power of it. Like I get
Mm.
its influence and what how it shaped the world and so on and so forth. So yeah,
Yeah,
rated.
well,
Yeah,
Social Network is a show that I grew to love. I didn't love it when it came out
right,
in 2010, but
right,
over the years I do, and now I have it as one of my favorites of the past decade. But I do,
right,
yeah.
right.
It's a great comparison. Sorry, but yeah,
Right,
what's your
right,
rating?
right. Yeah, yeah, like a some out of 10, but some point something closer to 8 to be honest. It's good. It's actually quite good, all things considered. But I just again because of the bias, I suppose that was how I wasn't into it as much. But I said, God, that's not into BlackBerry. It's like okay, it's a BlackBerry. They make BlackBerry, and again from a business academic business school standpoint, it's interesting. But like as an entertaining product, it's fine. But I was like super into it. But yeah, it's still pretty good.